Okay, today is day, let me find it. I have a lot of days I'm counting, because days really matter. So for our kids in the orphanage, our kids have been in the orphanage for 1,004 days, and we have been adopting from Liberia for 663 days, and we're in a couple noonday things today. This is the Belief silver necklace, and then this is the Victoria necklace, and then that is the Forte and the pearlescent pearl, and then Crown Free, that's my Hope bracelet. Crown Free is a company that is similar to Noonday in terms of their fair trade environment for production, but they also are they are an anti-trafficking organization, so I got a bracelet, a couple things from them this week. And so it is January 21st. So this is day 21 in my New Year's resolution to just do 60 days of video vlogging, if you will. Initially when I started this, I had no idea like what would happen with our adoption, if it would just be me saying we still don't know every day. Went to church this morning. This is kind of funny. So I was talking to some friends at church, and I talked to like some people close to the entrance, and then I talked to a friend of mine that was like sitting in the service waiting for it to start. And I had like a conversation with her husband and a conversation with her, but separately. So like my conversation with her husband was out, like we were talking to him when we were checking in, and then we talked to her before the service started. And she said to me after church, she was like, yeah, he came up to me and said, did you know the Smiths are moving to Africa? Like forever. And she was like, that's not what she said. So it was just funny, the bits and pieces of information. To be fair, I did briefly say that we were moving to Africa indefinitely, because my best friend's caring for my dog. Like my dear friend Devin is going to take on our 60-pound blue tick coonhound and keep him alive while we're in Africa indefinitely. And that's what I said, is that her babysitting thing of boarding my dog is indefinite. But that doesn't mean we're selling our house and moving to Africa. Although if we have any hope at all of completing our children's adoption while we're in Africa, we will extend our trip and stay and to try to get that done. What we're hoping is the U.S. State Department that we met with Friday, they are taking a trip to Liberia in February. They haven't told us the exact dates. Our orphanage director is going to take a trip to Liberia himself. He was going to go this month. I think he's decided to go after the inauguration so that he can see new personnel in the Liberian offices, as well as maybe get some better connections there. Our orphanage, as well as another orphanage, is under investigation for things that are really false, like false accusations, basically, that are silly. One of the accusations is that we recruit, like that our Liberian orphanage director staff recruits birth mothers to bring their kids to the orphanage, and he's like, we're overrun. Like, I have birth mothers I've had to say no to because they might be able to make it work. I've had birth mothers I've had to say no to because we don't have space. Birth families that, are waiting. So, I mean, recruitment's not really a thing that they need to do of all the things he spends his time on. He's also in charge of transporting all families that are in country and make sure they get to all their appointments and stuff. So, anyway, so there's that. The other development, so it was just funny when our friend came up to me after church and was like, I know you're not moving to Africa, but that was his takeaway. He's like, did you know? But the indefinite part, we do have return tickets. We plan to fly out February 12th and fly back March 4th. So we have that. So our actual plan is to be gone for 3 weeks. But if there's any chance that we can stay, there's also a chance that maybe we can get a little bit of their paperwork done. And even if they have to reside in the orphanage, that we can get at least half of it done. And then hopefully, maybe just I can fly back by myself, or maybe we can fly back as a family. It's hard to say. But we are making a leap of faith by trying to just get there and just give them some hope. I've joked about it being a $20,000 hope mission, but I mean, that's about what it's going to cost us to go and come back, is about $20,000. Probably a little more than that actually, but just $20,000 hope gift is good. Speaking of gifts, I am taking some gifts. Some of them had to be rescued from my front porch while I was out of town, by my neighbors. Thank you. And my friends. All the packages are fine except for one coloring book we've got to get replaced by Amazon, which if Amazon would just follow the directions that are on my front door, like this is the resin box, put the packages in the box, we'd be fine. Jeremy's not on the video with me today because he's homeschooling our kids and he's hoping to get that done so we can watch football. So we've been unplugged from all TV service providers for forever, but our kids like football now, our girls that are 10, 10, and 7. And so Jeremy's like, oh, they like it, so we can watch it. So they don't, you know, it's not like, so they like to watch it too. So we're going to try to watch football. The big thing that I'm going to start doing soon, and I'm going to try to figure out how to do a time lapse of it and kind of splice it into my videos and maybe see if I can do like a reactionary description, is packing. So we have, we call it the echo room because for a while there was nothing in it and it just echoed, but it's actually supposed to be a formal dining room. It does have a table in it. We use it a lot for homeschooling. We use it a lot for, I feel like it's our foyer table, like where you set all your stuff when you, but it's one of our older tables that we use. And it has this, I'll show it to you in a video, but I'm going to use it to pack. And Jeremy painted, I have this wall that's just a big chalkboard of things. And I have like very anxious ADHD. Like I'm pretty hyper, pretty like, we got to get everything done. I need a checklist. I need to see everything. And I have a very like visual like memory. Like if I can see it on a wall and checking off the list, then I won't dig through the suitcase and be like, did I really put it there? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase what's on there now from packing. And I'm going to basically turn this wall, it's a wall in our formal dining room that's not our dining room, that Jeremy created for me, that's got black paint that is magnetic but also dry erase. So it's chalk. It's a chalkboard. It's not a dry erase. So I have a dry erase board too, but the chalkboard is just huge, like, I don't know. I guess we have, I don't know how many feet our ceilings are. I guess they're 10 feet down here. So that's going to be my next project. So we're going to do this packing extravaganza. The only thing that I can't find is my really good chalk. So I had some cheaper chalk. And then a friend of mine was like, oh, get this chalk, you know, because he does artwork with chalk sometimes. And I was like, oh. And it is better, but now I can't find it. So I've got to dig through and find it. But today is day 1 of packing. So I have to work Monday and Tuesday. So I'm not going to get a lot more done then. I think actually on Tuesday I'm working and I'm getting my hair cut. A friend of mine asked me if I wanted to work Wednesday. And I kind of do because I feel like I should work more. But I don't think I have time because I have all these other things to do. We're still collecting textiles. We're going to have one big load go out before we go to Africa because we're getting a ton from 3 different businesses and one huge community sale. So that's on Saturday. We're getting that. Next Sunday, we have our home visit to do our emergency home study update. Thank you to everyone that has provided references for us on the home study. You have to just send an email. Most of you guys have done it already. I think just a couple more. And our pastor's included in that. He's also my neighbor. Thanks, Paul. I'm sure he'll do it quick. He's really quick about stuff like that. I remember I asked him one time I just like texted him. He literally lives across the street. We have this group text that's back and forth. And I've made jokes about just making a list of all the texts that the 4 of us, his wife and I and my husband, text, like, have you seen this? Do you have this? Like, you know, we'll text each other like, can I borrow this? Or do you have a dolly? Most recently, do you have any lawn chairs or beach chairs that I can come get tonight? Like these kind of things we do a lot. But I texted him one time and was like, I need a signed copy, like with your physical signature to apply for a grant. And within the hour, one of his kids knocked on my door and handed it to me. And I was like, whoa, that was fast. So like examples like that, you know, stories of people that have kind of been in it with us since the beginning of like just waiting, and they kind of see the pattern and they know it's unjust. And his sermon this morning was about compassion towards people and forgiveness and those kind of things. And you know, it was a good thing for me to hear compassion and forgiveness because I have had a lot of compassion for the orphans in Liberia, but the sermon this morning struck me more as I need to have compassion for even the people that are carrying out corrupt activities that may be hindering my adoption. So I need to have compassion for them and forgiveness for them as well. I don't need to continue to allow them to do that if I can stop it. If I can increase the accountability there, I should. And I believe that wholeheartedly, because you don't want to leave someone in some type of cycle of destruction. Not only is it destructive, but it's also, it's not good for them. But we are, as was stated in the sermon this morning, by my neighbor and friend, we aren't called to help people once they're already in the church door. We're called to be compassionate to them and helpful to them wherever we find them. And so I have a feeling I'm going to go to Liberia, and I'm going to want to meet with some government officials if I can. And I don't know if I'll even have permission to do that. I'm going to want to know how the U.S. State Department is visiting Liberia for one of their routine visits, the Office of Children's Issues. And they have a heavy pressure on trafficking, heavy pressure on fraudulent, identity stuff with these kids is a big deal. So, I hope that I can continue to be compassionate towards them as I navigate the waters of being an adoptive mom that is ready to have my family complete. From that standpoint. So some people asked us today if our girls know we're coming. They don't really understand mail. They don't understand pictures that well. I did try sending them hard copies of pictures of them so that they would kind of understand. But most of these kids, they haven't ever seen the ocean. They don't live that far from the ocean, but they haven't ever seen the ocean. They've never really seen outside of their village and the orphanage. They've probably been to the hospital or local healthcare facility clinics that are, they've probably been there because they have to be there at some point to get checkups. And who knows? Who knows everywhere they've been, but they haven't been a lot of places. So it would kind of to talk about me crossing the ocean to get to them is they don't really understand what that means. They know that we're coming. The video that they sent me after they got their Christmas presents, the older one did say, we love you and we hope to see you soon, which kind of inspired me to just beg to do a visit, to go see them in person. So I need to clear out my noonday samples before I go. So if you guys want to buy some samples, I added a whole bunch of those to my noonday group. I'm going to share this video across there too. But day 21 of our videos, I'm going to do at least 60 days. If you guys continue to like them or they continue to be helpful. I've had a lot of adoptive families that are not matched with kids yet in Liberia that have actually, they have said that this is helpful. They've shared it with their parents or their grandparents, people that are also trying to wait to be matched or wait to be adopted or whatever. Everybody's in different phases of the process. I believe we figured out that there are 10 families total in a solid holding pattern. That's not supposed to happen, just like we are. And I talked about this yesterday. I'm going to talk about it again today. Just to remind myself, if the delay of our adoption has to do with God trying to turn a spotlight on something that's extremely dark that needs to be brought out into the light and then cast away completely. If the wait is what it took to assemble this group of parents, the ones that were on the State Department call and the ones that are waiting, all these people that are throwing their hat in the ring to support Liberian orphans at finding permanent families in the U.S. If the extra wait is what it took to get that light on and get this team assembled, I'm okay with that. I think that imagining that that's correct, imagining that this extra basically year that we've waited that should have been unnecessary was to turn on the lights for other things, because this is the best chance, and this is the time that God thinks, okay, we've assembled them all, maybe we can just do a little bit more. Because it's not God that wants my kids to live under the state of orphanism forever. That's not his dream for them. And it's not God who wants to delay the paperwork. And it's not God who wants to bully or intimidate different government officials to what end. I mean, this is things that come from people. And the number one thing that comes from people and from evil intent is the fear. The fear-driven, what if this is never going to happen? What if we're never going to adopt these kids? Well, let's go down that road. What if we're never going to adopt them? Even if, for some reason, we were unable to ever adopt them or bring them home, which is always a possibility in international adoption. I mean, until those kids are literally with their U.S. passports and birth certificates, you're no guarantees. What if that does happen? So what? Does that mean that this last year and a half was a waste? It's a difficult question, especially when you think about the fundraising and all the resources and all this stuff. But just go back to that one thing. These 2 little girls that entered the orphanage starving to death, sick, needing help, surrounded by very few family members that are able to even, they just can't. They just can't. It doesn't matter what they want. They just can't take care of these kids. Even if they find out that they're never going to get to come to the U.S., they're going to age out of an orphanage in Liberia. There was this one year where this one family called them daughters and chased them and wanted to adopt them. Whether we're ever allowed to or not doesn't matter as much as that. And that's one thing that I think is a victory for me today. Like, that's the positive for today, is that those little girls don't know that we're coming, but we are. And they don't know for sure what's going to happen. And to try to explain to them what their life is going to be like in the U.S. after their adoption is complete and they don't live there in Liberia anymore is like, you can't really describe it. They don't have a frame of reference. You know, like, I can talk to my kids that I've had since birth and be like, remember when this, remember when that. It's going to be like that. They don't, trying to describe a plane trip. Like, when I describe a plane trip to my kids, they've been on an airplane before, short distances. But then I talk to my kids that I have under my roof now that I've had since their birth. I'm like, hey, we're going to get on a plane across the ocean. We're going to be in the airplane about the same amount of time we were in the car to drive from Tennessee to Florida. And they're like, oh, okay. There's a frame of reference. These kids don't have a frame of reference for that. Their family is the other kids in the orphanage. They hope to have a family of their own, because that's what everyone hopes there. But they don't know what that means. So no matter what, we are going to go visit these 2 little girls and tell them that we want them to join our family, and we're doing everything we can. And we're not going to leave them there. And I'm not going to go live in Africa. I'm not selling my house or anything. But if we have a chance to extend our trip and stay longer, we will. We just will. And if we have a chance to, even if it's months, if we have a chance to do that, we will. I do, again, appreciate my friend Devin and her family keeping our dog alive while we're gone. I think it's going to go okay. She'll whip him into shape. And I think our house will still be standing because, we have our great neighbors and friends that'll kind of watch out for it. And there's a part of me that's like, we're going to be back March 4th. And then there's a part of me that's like, are we going to be back before hurricane season? So we're considering doing we have some shutters that are hurricane shutters that are up that are like extremely difficult to put up, that we still haven't taken down since Hurricane Ian that rolled over our community last year. So we've left that. It's been almost a year and a half actually, but we've left those because we want to put like electronic or rollouts instead of like Jeremy on a ladder, because that was hard. Because our neighbors were helping us. I remember him saying, I really just need to go eat a sandwich. I'm like, oh, it's just 10 more minutes. Come on, don't leave. You got to hold the ladder. But it was like, we're going to do that. So we're going to be prepared that we may not be back in hurricane season. Starts in June. So scary. Packing. Next up. Hope you guys have a good week and a good day. And thank you for continuing to keep your thoughts and prayers in our adoption.